All right, welcome to our latest explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into an absolutely epic, true story from our source material about facing impossible odds. We're looking back at a time of grave national peril in the ancient world. It's the incredible historical account of King Hezekiah and the sudden, downright terrifying arrival of the massive Assyrian army right at the gates of Jerusalem. It is a story packed with incredible courage, intense preparation, and just absolute total trust in a higher power. To kick things off, I want you to really think about this for a second. What would you do if an unbeatable giant, like think of a massive, terrifying bully, was standing right outside your front door, ready to attack? It's a scary thought, right? Most of us would probably want to hide under the bed or maybe just give up entirely. But as we're going to see in the text today, running away actually isn't the only option when you're staring down a giant. Section 1, the unstoppable Assyrian army. So our story begins with a very real-life giant, the completely merciless Assyrian army. The text actually describes them almost like a massive monster, just destroying literally everything in their path. And the threat had been building for a while. Years prior, they had completely conquered the greatest nations on earth. Then, just a few years before our story, they captured Samaria and scattered the 10 tribes of Israel. And now, going from triumph to triumph, this invincible, unstoppable force has arrived just miles away. They are literally right on the doorstep of Jerusalem. Talk about a terrifying mismatch. On one side, you have the Assyrian Empire. They are massive, they're undefeated, and they are fiercely cruel. And on the other side, the tiny kingdom of Judah. They were completely surrounded. The text notes that all possible help from Egypt had been totally cut off, and there were absolutely no friendly nations anywhere nearby to lend a hand. They were, for all intents and purposes, completely trapped. Moving on to Section 2, preparing for the storm. Now, instead of just throwing his hands up and giving up, King Hezekiah got straight to work. He shows us that having incredible faith actually means doing your absolute best to prepare first. The source outlines exactly how he sat down, took counsel with his mighty men, and got ready for a siege. Step 1. He purposely hid all the water outside the city walls to create a scarcity, meaning the enemy would go thirsty. Step 2. He rebuilt all the broken walls and raised them right up to the towers. And Step 3. He produced darts and shields in absolute abundance. Basically, he accomplished everything that human ingenuity and energy could possibly do. Then, after assembling all his forces, Hezekiah rallies his terrified people with this bold quote. He says, "Be strong and courageous, for there be more with us than with him." He essentially tells them, look, the Assyrian king, he only has an arm of flesh, but Judah has the Lord their God to fight their battles. And the text notes that nothing more quickly inspires faith than the actual exercise of faith. And the people literally rested themselves upon his words.
Which brings us to Section 3, the ultimate bully's taunt.
So the long-expected crisis finally hits when the Assyrian officers arrive right outside the city gates. And one of the chief officers, a guy named Rabshakeh, acts exactly like the ultimate schoolyard bully. It's pure psychological warfare. He purposely yells his scary threats in the Jewish language, completely ignoring polite requests to speak in Assyrian, because he wanted the sentries on the wall to hear every single terrifying word. He's actively trying to convince the people that Hezekiah is tricking them and that their God is entirely helpless to save them from the Assyrian war machine. And if that wasn't enough, following this, the Assyrian king Sennacherib sends a formal, taunting letter with an even more terrible threat. He's boasting about how his fathers had completely destroyed all the other lands. He arrogantly asks if any gods of the nations had ever delivered their people from his hand. He was essentially telling Hezekiah point blank that his forces were way stronger than any god in existence. Now, this is the crucial point. What does Hezekiah do next? He doesn't shout insults back at the bullies over the wall. He definitely doesn't surrender. No, upon receiving this completely blasphemous challenge, he tears his clothes in mourning, takes that very letter straight into the temple, and physically spreads it out before the Lord. He just lays it all out there. He pleads for heaven's help, begging God to save them so that all the kingdoms of the earth would know that he alone is the true God. Section 4, a miraculous midnight rescue. Well, God absolutely heard Hezekiah's desperate prayer. He promised through the prophet Isaiah that the Assyrians wouldn't even shoot a single arrow into Jerusalem, not one. And the source tells us that that very night, deliverance came. An angel of the Lord went right into the enemy camp while they slept and miraculously defeated a staggering 185,000 Assyrian soldiers. Think about that number. In just one night, the leaders and captains of this terrifying, invincible army were completely wiped out, all without Judah ever having to lift a single sword. So when tidings of this terrible judgment reached that boastful King Sennacherib, he was stricken with absolute fear. The text says he hasted to depart, running away and returning with complete shame of face back to his own land. Jerusalem was left completely 100% safe, proving to all the surrounding nations that the God of the Hebrews was the true hero who had just crushed this unbeatable monster. And back in Jerusalem, the temple courts resounded with massive songs of joy. And finally, Section 5, Facing Your Own Giants. The source text explicitly states that this whole history is meant to be an object lesson to the end of time. So if you, or especially the children in your life, are facing some scary giants today, here is a super practical checklist based exactly on King Hezekiah. Number 1, do your absolute best to prepare. Secure your walls, study for the test, do what you can. Number 2, pray about the rest. When the taunts come or when the worry sets in, don't yell back. Take that bully's words straight to God, just like Hezekiah did with the letter. And number 3, trust completely in God's awesome power to fight your battles. So we have to ask, what giant are you or your kids facing right now? Is it a really difficult situation at school, a massive challenge at work, or maybe just a deep fear that feels as unbeatable as an ancient monstrous army? Well, now you know Hezekiah's powerful secret, relentless preparation paired with absolute unshakable faith. How are you going to use that to overcome your giant this week? Think about it, talk about it with your family, and let this incredible history inspire you today.